Welcome to Empower Episode 2. Today we have a special guest, Professor Shruthi Kumar, a renowned physics professor at the City College of San Francisco and a dedicated board member at New Haven Unified School District School Board. Stay tuned for insights on feminism, empowerment, and careers in our conversation with Professor Kumar. Hi, Auntie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So we know that you're a woman of many talents. You're a professor of physics, a scout leader, a Union City School District board member, a tutor, and possibly many more. So what among these do you enjoy doing the most, and why?
Wow, that's a tough one. Each one of these are my passion. So my passion lies in youth and public ed. So if you think about being a scout leader or being a professor or being on the school board, they're all driven by my passion. So it's really hard to pick one because I thoroughly enjoy doing each one of these. It's kind of like having to pick a favorite kid, if that makes sense. And it's really hard. So I actually enjoy all of them.
Oh, that's really cool for you to think that. Were there any mentors or individuals that guided you in your early days of teaching? How did their influence impact your growth?
Yes, definitely. So I had a couple people who come to mind. So I had one when I had got my first job teaching in the United States. That was a big challenge. I was straight out of grad school, and it was daunting to teach here.
Yeah.
But I had the department chair where I started teaching. This was at Contra Costa College. He was phenomenal. So he guided me through, gave me advice, and it really sounded wise. That was really helpful. And I actually to date I follow a lot of his advice. And when I started at City College of San Francisco, which was I think 16 years ago, I had my department chair there, Diana Markham, and she another phenomenal instructor. I want to say she brought out the best in me in terms of being a professor and a teacher. And I think I owe a lot of where I am today to both these individuals. So definitely great mentors.
That's really cool. Okay, what caused you to realize your passion for physics, and what made you want to teach this subject?
Ah, nice. So I think I realized that I was in love with physics. It was probably high school, right? And even as young before high school, so as a 6-year old, you know how you play with magnets and you're fascinated by it. So it started there, but it was in high school when I actually realized, wow, physics is just everywhere around me. When you're walking, when you look at light, when you are, when you see things falling, when you're in the park, when you're on the slide, it's just everywhere around you. And to me, that was very fascinating. And I really wanted to know more about everything and how everything worked. I love that it's such an exact science, and I'm a little biased maybe, but I do think it's an exact science, and there's no science that's as fun as physics. So that's where it all started, and I just knew I had to pursue physics.
That's cool. That's nice. What's the most difficult part about being a teacher?
So for me, the most difficult part is when I see students struggle with something that's beyond their control and I can't help them with it. That really breaks my heart. So as an example, this semester I have a student who is living in his car. So yeah, he unfortunately lost his home, and this is a student in one of my online classes. So I see him on Zoom, always in his car, and at some point he shared with me that this is his situation right now, and he's a very smart student, and it just breaks my heart that he can't reach his full potential because of circumstances that were beyond his control, right? And he could have done so much better. And sadly, I can't do anything to help him in that regard. So, and this happens a lot actually, things like this. So anytime I see a student who's struggling with things and I can't do anything to help them, to me, that's the hardest part about teaching.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, that must be really sad to see.
Yeah.
So teachers are a blessing for all of us students. Can you tell us some stories from your student life where you helped make a difference?
Yeah, so I think it was 10 years ago that I started this program called Pay It Forward, which is, it's where I tutor students who, come from backgrounds where their parents can't quite afford tutors and they're struggling in math and physics. So I teach them for free. And in return, the deal is that they have to pay it forward when they grow up and do something nice for someone, right? So I think it was a couple months ago, I got an email out of the blue from someone, and I didn't know that this person went on. This was someone who was in the program. I helped him with physics. He went ahead and he got a degree in architecture from Berkeley. And apparently he wrote back to me saying, Ms. Kumar, I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to share with you that he designed a home for free for his gardener, as part of his pay it forward thing, and it just made my day. It made me so happy to see that he actually followed through and spread it ahead. I loved it. So every so often this happens, and it just makes me happy.
That's really inspiring, actually, to like see that they're able to pay it forward.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about your position as a New Haven board member, trustee, and vice president?
Yes, sure. So I ran for election this past November, and again, it was driven by my passion for public education. And interestingly, I just got my citizenship a few months before that. So as an immigrant woman, I'm really grateful that this country actually, gave me the opportunity to run for office. It was really cool. And it's been close to a year now that I've been serving on the school board, and it's been an incredible experience. I love it. So I don't know how familiar you are with the public ed school board system here. So what the school board does is basically we're a group of 5 people, at least in New Haven, and we kind of oversee the district, right? So not so much operations, but things like policies, and in general, we try to think about what would be good for the school district. And it's been great because, just knowing that you can influence a student's life, to me, that brings me a lot of joy. There are also really fun moments because I have kids in the school district, and when their friends come to know that I'm a trustee, they send me like really funny requests through them. Things like there was one who sent a request saying that the cinnamon cream puffs that they get in their cafeteria don't have enough cream, and they were like, "Rehan, can you tell your mom to fix that?" So it's really funny. But yeah, things like that we can't fix. But yeah.
Like, how are you able to manage all of that though, as having such a big role?
It's a lot, and it's hard. It's a constant state of juggling because it's, I have to wear my professor hat, I have to wear my mom hat, I have to wear my trustee hat, my scout leader hat. It's a lot. But like I said before, each one of those roles is driven by passion. So that really keeps me going. I draw a lot of energy from that. And secondly, I have an amazing support system at home. So my husband and my kids are extremely supportive. So today, for instance, I had a crazy day and I started at 5 a.m., but my kids took care of their own breakfast. My husband made sure he packed me lunch, so I think I'm incredibly lucky. But I think that combination of being driven by passion, doing things that I'm passionate about, and having a good, strong support system at home together really helps, and that's how I'm able to keep it together.
Yeah, it's nice that those things like kind of fuel the fire that you already have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's really important.
So during your progress in different fields, what are some challenges that you faced as a woman, and how did you overcome them?
So something I have faced and observed is that sometimes there is a tendency to be dismissive of women, right? And early on, I noticed it, and it was kind of hard for me to deal with it because it didn't make sense, right? So I would say something, it would be dismissed, and then when my male counterpart would say the same thing, it would have a very different reaction, right? And that didn't make sense to me. But I've learned now, and I've learned how to handle this, and it helps to call it out early on, right? So whenever this happens, addressing it right away and talking about it really helps, as opposed to waiting until it builds up, and then it's really hard to fix it. So when you see something that doesn't feel right, talk about it. That really helps, because a lot of times the person may not even realize it may be unconscious, right? So it really helps to talk about it and just let people know how you're feeling, because I think that really helps.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a Girl Scout troop member, it's been a really fun experience for me. And so can you tell us about your journey as a scout leader, and how did that even start?
Yeah, sure. So I was a Girl Scout in India growing up, so in high school. It was called Girl Guides there. So the boys were called Scouts and the girls were called Guides. And I loved that experience. In high school, we actually didn't have a choice. We were made to do it. So initially I was like kind of resistant to it, but I loved it. It really grew on me. And then, fast forward to when I got here, and then I had my firstborn. When he turned 5, we got a flyer for Cub Scouts for boys, and that time it was just boys. Now it's open to boys and girls. But we went to the meeting, and it was so fun. I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it, and I jumped at the opportunity, and I offered to be a volunteer. That's when I started. That was I want to say 11 years ago. And I started by being a den leader for his den. So den is like a group. And then, all I have 3 boys, and they all continued. So they all started with Cub Scouts, continued on to Boy Scouts. And I was the den leader for each and every one of them. I still am for the 5th. My youngest is the 5th grader. And then I took on more responsibilities as I started liking it. So I'm what's called a merit badge counselor. I'm not sure, you probably have something equivalent. But so, there are merit badges, and I'm the counselor for many of them. I'm also a STEM counselor, so I love physics. So I do a lot of STEM stuff with our scouts. So to me, I don't know, I've loved scouting. It's just been so fun. I love the service aspect of it, and also the outdoors, and just how, kids, students, youth get exposed to a broad, wide spectrum of things as opposed to just one thing, right? So it's great. It's been a great program.
Actually, even some of the moms in our troop were Girl Guides too.
So, is that right?
Yeah, so that's how they were able to.
So you heard of Girl Guides then? Yeah, it was really fun.
I think there's like a place to meet in India too, where all
yes, there still is. And I think they're called the Bharat Scouts and Guides Association. So it's all together, and it's interesting that people too.
Okay, so recently we saw you celebrate the Filipino American History Month. So how was that experience like?
Oh, it was so good. So our city, Union City, has over 14,000 Filipinos and Filipino Americans, which is pretty impressive. And our school district, New Haven Unified, is actually the only school district in the entire country to have renamed one of our schools in honor of Filipino labor leaders. So the middle school that's here, it was renamed after Lariat Leong and Philip Vera Cruz, who were Filipino labor leaders. So it was really great to be able to celebrate Filipino history with everyone in the community. We had many dances by kids in our school district. So there were like ethnic Filipino dances. There was Filipino food. There was martial arts, and it was great. It was really nice for the community to come together and celebrate this. I had a great time.
Yeah, especially celebrating diversity.
Exactly, it was really good.
Okay, so out of everything that you've done, what is the most important risk that you had to take towards your career journey?
So I don't know that I would call it a risk per se, but I think when I decided to run for office, right, that to me was, I had to think about it because I knew it would take away from me as a professor, me as a mom, me as a scout leader. So to me, that was a big risk that I took. But I went in knowing, just listening to my heart and knowing that that made me happy. And honestly, if I had the choice to go back and do it all over again, I still would. So I wouldn't change anything about it. I love it, and no regrets at all. But at the time, it did seem like I was taking this big plunge that was scary.
Yeah, that's a really big decision.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Okay. Could you name a woman who inspired you the most?
Yes, my 8th grade French teacher in high school. Oh my gosh, so Miss Dastour, she was amazing. The way she taught, she never taught how usually teachers have books and stuff. She just had really innovative and creative ways of teaching, and everything that she taught always stuck because she was just so creative with everything. And I still try and model my lectures and teaching after her, even though we're teaching completely different things. But just the way she engaged our class, she's such a big inspiration, and I strive to be like her. And I hope I get to meet her someday when I go to India. But yes, Mr. Stewart for sure.
Even I take French this year, actually.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wow, do you like it?
Yeah, I do like it. I mean, it's pretty tricky compared to other languages, but
right. Yeah. It's fun though.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, it is. I took French for 5 years, and I still can't talk, or it was not conversational French, but it was the non-conversational one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any future career aspirations or hopes?
I'm kind of on the fence of this one, right? So I do think from time to time, I feel like I want to move over to management in public ed and not teaching, right? Which is kind of like being a dean in a college, you know? So that's like the management side of it. But that means I have to give up teaching. So for me, that's a very hard decision. So I'm kind of on the fence. I do feel like sometime down the line, I do want to do that and move into a management position, but not yet. I'm not ready to give up teaching yet. I don't know when I will, but that's an aspiration that's on the back burner somewhere.
Yeah, it's nice to try and experiment with
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and being on the school board gives me a little bit of that, but it's different than yeah.
Okay. Is there any piece of advice for young girls like me who are still trying to decide what to pursue in life?
The one thing I will say is follow your passion. That is really big. Listen to your heart, and if there's anything that you feel passionate about, you should stick with it, no matter what anyone says. Because I know, I think I was 6 when I started wanting to become a teacher, and my dad realized that, and he totally supported my passion throughout my journey, through school and college and stuff, and that's why I was able to pursue this. And I'm sure if I was not teaching today, I wouldn't be the person that I am. I wouldn't be happy. So follow your passion no matter what. That's all I'll
it's
say.
really cool that like at such a young age you were able to know what you wanted.
Yeah. Do you have any passions that?
I don't know. Like sometimes I think of stuff that I like. I think that actually I don't know, but I think I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll come exactly. Yeah. But when you know what it is, follow it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
That's it for Empower episode 2. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you learned a little bit about Professor Shruthi Kumar and her journey to finding the career that she loves. Thank you, Professor Shruthi Kumar, for joining us today and giving us some insightful advice to guide everyone's separate journeys as well.
Well, thank you for having me, and it was really fun.